Hey, how's it going? Today I'm talking about calf tightness in the first 2 miles of your run for slow runners.
This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury-prone runDisney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line.
This is so incredibly common. I just talked about this the other day on my Stronger, Faster Finisher call, and I get this question. It's not every week or anything like that, but I get it often enough that I was looking back and I was like, I haven't talked about this in a while. So, and I don't think I have a full dedicated podcast episode to it. So here we are today. And let's do a little update. I think my dishwasher finally doesn't leak. If you have been around, first dishwasher in the brand new home leaked a lot, like 2 tablespoons worth of water. It's a lot of water. It should not leak at all. Got it after 11 appointments for that dishwasher. They finally decided to replace it. They replaced it, and this one seems to leak. Now, this is like a very small drip. Like we're talking 3 drops of water, and we can actually see where it's coming from for this one. And it really looks like it's condensation coming from the dishwasher, settling on the underside of the kitchen counter, and then going off to the sides and like dripping down the side of the dishwasher and the side of the cabinets. So they finally came back today at the time of recording this, and it looks like they had an extra, like we could have it or we don't need it, like rubber bumper is what I'm going to call it. So the guy took it off, and let's just hope that that did the trick. He thinks it's because there was that extra rubber bumper that it wasn't closing properly, so steam was escaping and creating that condensation, hitting the cool countertop, and then immediately forming into these droplets. So let's see. Let's find out if that is the case. We did run the dishwasher today during the day, so that we could potentially see it, and we didn't see any. So fingers crossed, but I'm going to keep my eye on it. What other updates? Princess Week is, at the time of recording this, it's next week, but by the time this drops, it will be this week. So happy Princess Week. Eat your carbs. If you are running the half marathon or 2-course challenge, start carb loading Thursday morning. If you're doing the 10K and it's going to take you more than an hour, which if you're listening to this podcast, it probably will, then start carb loading on Thursday afternoon or Friday for your 10K. If you're doing the 5K, you don't necessarily have to carb load. If you're doing the 5K in addition to one of the other races, I do recommend carb loading so that you have plenty of energy stored up for you on race day. Now, I do know that many runners out there will say it's just a half marathon. I don't carb load. You don't need to. Don't listen to them. You do you, boo-boo. And I highly recommend carb loading. The people who say that they don't need to carb load are either absolutely phenomenal human beings, or they don't know what they don't know and they've never carb loaded and they don't know how good they could feel. Yeah, maybe they get through. Could you get by a half marathon without carb loading? 100% you could. But you will feel, I guarantee you will feel better, less nauseous, less dizzy, less heaviness in your legs if you do carb load, and you will have more energy because you are literally giving yourself more energy when you're pre-race carb loading. That's what it is. Carbs are your energy. Where do we think our energy comes from? It doesn't come out of thin air. You literally can't create or destroy energy. You have to get it from somewhere. Humans get it from their sustenance. They get it from their food. You need to eat in order to have something ready to go run all of those miles. It does not matter that you're running those miles at a 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 minute per mile pace. If anything, those paces mean that you need that carb more. So go carb load, have all of the carbs, drink all of the soda, drink all of the juices, eat all of the bread, eat all of the Mickey-shaped items, and let me know how your first carb load went and how you felt afterward, after your race. or during your race. You will feel a little heavy at the start line. You will. That's normal. That's normal. But let me know how you feel during the race and after the race. I would love to hear it because I bet you'll feel better than when you weren't carb loading. Okay, let's get into this calf tightness. So this is so common. Calf tightness in the first 2 miles of your long run or your race. I hear my slow runners say, what stretches can I do? My calf muscles are never loosened up until like 2 or 3 miles in. Dr. Allie, give me all of the stretches. And I say, I will definitely help you. I am not giving you stretches for this calf tightness. If I give you stretches for this calf tightness, it will not work. It won't do a damn thing because your calf muscles aren't tight. That's just the sensation you're feeling. So what is happening is your body is telling you we aren't ready to accept blood in your calf muscles right now. That's what that calf tightness is telling you. So what is happening? So let me back it up a second. So one thing that happens is the sensations that you feel in your body, your brain interprets that. So if you've never felt it before, your brain interprets something as something that has already happened, right? The best example is when a male has a heart attack. I specifically say male because females have different heart attack symptoms. When a male has a heart attack, it is usually like not as dramatic, but usually similar to what you see in the TV shows. They grab their arm. Well, they grab their arm because they think they have arm pain. The reason they think they have arm pain when they're having a heart attack is because the nerves that go to your heart, some of them also go to your arm. So what happens is your heart is actually having pain. Those nerves that are going to your heart, they are getting a signal that something's happening, something painful is happening. It sends a signal to the brain. Well, part of those branches also go to the arm, and that male has never had a heart attack before. So the brain interprets this as arm pain because the male has had arm pain in the past. Whether they've hit their elbow or gotten bumped, had a bruise, torn a muscle, broken a bone, something that happened in that left arm. And the brain interprets it as the arm hurts, when in fact it's not actually coming from the arm. So the brain is interpreting it to make sense of what's happening, but because you've never had that thing happen before, it misinterprets the signal. Similar thing is happening to you in your calf muscles. Your calf muscles are sending a signal that they are tight. Your brain is interpreting it as my calf muscles are tight because that's what you've felt before. You haven't correlated this lack of space availability for blood flow before, but you actually can have discomfort, tightness, ache from your blood vessels not being ready to accept blood. Okay, so what happens is you've heard of rest and digest and fight or flight, right? We are typically talking about the nervous system and what's happening during different aspects of our day, so to speak. So rest and digest, we are resting, and that's when our body gives supply to digest. So what happens is when we're resting, our heart rate is normal. It's the resting heart rate, probably in the 50s, okay, 50 something beats per minute. When we are resting and we don't have something going on, our body sends the majority of the blood flow to our internal organs to digest and to just be and to live. So our intestines get our blood flow, our stomach gets our blood flow, other internal organs get most of the blood flow. Now, this doesn't mean to say that our arms and our legs don't get the blood flow. Of course they do. It's not the priority, so they don't get as much during this portion. Fight or flight, when our body is go, 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 and adrenaline is running through our body, our heart rate goes up, our breathing increases, and a signal gets sent that our blood flow needs to be sent to the muscles that need to fight off a predator. So those are our quad muscles, our calf muscles, our legs, our arms, so that we could fight or flight, take flight. We could run away. And so when our heart rate goes up compared to when it's just at our normal resting heart rate, that is starting the cascade of events to send the blood flow to our extremities, our arms and our legs. Mainly our legs, because we are running away from a bear, or we are fighting the bear, or we're just training for a runDisney race. Same, right? So when we think about this, if we suddenly start running from zero, we are sitting there and then we just go. Our body is prioritizing blood to our internal organs, and suddenly the heart rate suddenly starts going up, our breathing rate suddenly starts going up, and that's the signal of we need to shunt the blood flow to the legs. So we are going to suddenly shove all this blood into the legs. The blood vessels didn't get the memo yet. And so then the calf muscles feel tight, almost like they're spasming. And that's the sensation you're feeling. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm going to give an example, and I'm going to see if I can clip this on Instagram as well. So you may be able to go see this clip on Instagram. So I have an Apple pencil here, and I have a tube of chapstick, EOS lip balm. So when we are resting and digesting, the blood vessels in our legs are like the size of this Apple pencil, okay? So not exactly, don't quote me on this is the exact size, but this is just my diagram, right? Or example. So size of the Apple pencil. That's when we're resting and digesting. When we need to run and take flight, fight or flight, our blood vessels need to be the size of this chapstick, which is much thicker. Okay, so imagine normally when we're fighting and flighting, our blood is going through this very thick chapstick tube. Now imagine that same amount of blood that normally would be flowing through this large chapstick tube suddenly needs to get shunted through the small Apple pencil, very suddenly. So you are trying to fire hose these small garden hose size blood vessels, trying to send the amount of water that would come out through a fire hose, right? You are trying to send all of the blood that would normally fit in this thick chapstick size blood vessel through this thin Apple pencil size blood vessel. What we can do instead is we can warm up our body and start sending the signal to start dilating or opening up those blood vessels in our calf muscles. So then when we actually start running, the blood vessels are ready to accept all of that larger blood flow. And the way we do that is by literally warming up our body. I like to warm up with a walking warm up. So it's a brisk walk, something to get your heart rate up by at least 20 beats per minute. Increase your breathing rate as well. Increasing the heart rate starts the cascade of events inside your body to tell your body, we are going to use skeletal muscles now. We are going to use the body as if we are fighting and flighting. Do your thing, body. Open up those blood vessels and start sending the blood flow there, as opposed to the rest and digest, where we're shunting the blood flow to the stomach and the intestines. So that's why on all of my training plans, I say do a 10-minute warm-up before any of your running activities or any of your cross-training activities. It's a slow progression to start this cascade of events to make sure your body is ready for the bigger workout, the running, the long run, the speed workouts, so that you don't just go from 0 to 60 and your blood flow tries to shove large amounts of blood through a tiny little hole. That's why by mile 2 or 3, you're like, oh yeah, my legs aren't cramping anymore, because you're warmed up. It typically takes between 10 to 20 minutes. And so that time frame, maybe 2 to 3 miles, is actually longer than 10 to 20 minutes, but it's actually going to take longer for you to recognize that that tightness no longer is there, because your body's going to kind of hang on to it a little bit and keep sending that signal. to just make sure they're in the clear. But it will take about 10 to 20 minutes. So if you're noticing that you have this calf tightness that goes away in 2 to 3 miles, it's because you need a better warm up or a different warm up. And I'm not talking like dynamic stretches. Dynamic stretches are great. Dynamic stretches need to be done in addition to some kind of cardio warm up, a brisk walk, riding the bike, right? Like, have you ever watched a sports game? I see it a lot in basketball. I mainly see it a lot in basketball because that's the sport we watch in this house. But when somebody comes off the bench, or not when they come off the bench, when they come off the bench and they're getting ready to go into the game for the first time, they're not a starter. They're like a sixth man, meaning they aren't one of the starting five, and they are on the bench for a while. They go and ride the bike before they hop on the court because they need to be warmed up. Does it help reduce the risk of injury? Probably. There's still some debate over that. I do think it does help. To what degree for us as runDisney runners running 13 plus minute per mile paces versus an NBA player, I don't know that difference, but we can take the same concept and apply it to what we're doing. But that's why those basketball players go and ride the bike. Maybe they do it in other sports too. I don't know. We're not watching other sports in this house. We're watching basketball. We're watching F1. And really, Royal's watching it. I'm crocheting or creating a training plan or something like that. But that's a form of a warm-up. And it's making it so that they are literally keeping their body warm or warming up their body if it cooled down, so that their body is ready to accept all of the blood flow that it needs to be able to go and sprint. Now, same concept reversed for this next example. If you've ever eaten a high-protein meal too close to when you go run and you get sick to your stomach, you get stomach cramps, same concept. The blood flow has now shunted to your skeletal muscles in your legs and your arms, and it no longer is helping your body digest. So your protein, that high protein meal, which is good for reasons, not good before a workout, it's still sitting in your stomach, not doing anything. It's sitting like a brick. And your body is not prioritizing sending blood flow to the stomach to digest that. So then your stomach cramps. So your stomach cramps because it still had protein in it because it's not getting the blood flow. Your calf muscles cramp or are tight because it wasn't ready to accept the blood flow. Same. It's the same concept in reverse. Your stomach doesn't have the blood flow, so it can't digest the food. Your calf muscles have the blood flow, but don't know what to do with it because the blood vessels aren't ready to accept it, so they cramp as well or feel tight. In our legs, we tend to call it tight. In our stomach, we tend to call it cramping. So if you are somebody who has had the sensation that your calf muscles tighten up and aren't loose until 2 to 3 miles in, stretching will do absolutely nothing for you. You need to warm up. I recommend that warm up be 10 to 20 minutes, a brisk walk, and then you can add some dynamic stretches in if your joints are tight or something like that. But for most people, a solid brisk walk is all you need. So there are some people, and it may be you, that need dynamic stretches to loosen up the hips and keep the knees loose and things like that. Fine, no problem. 10 to 20 minute brisk walk or 10 to 20 minutes on another piece of cardio equipment. A bike is a great one. Elliptical's great. Maybe you like to swim. The thing is, you have to do the thing. You have to do that warm up and go right into the run. You can't cool down. So you can't warm up at home, drive 20 minutes to the gym, and then go on your run. You are no longer warm. If you walk straight to the gym, drop your stuff and hop on the treadmill, great, no problem. You've barely cooled down. That's great. You can do that. But it needs to be like immediate. And that will help make it so that your calf muscles don't feel